Welcome to this special edition of Go Vote Omaha, a candidate forum for the Omaha Public Power District, Subdivision 1, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Jerry Simon, a League member and moderator for the forum. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes political parties or candidates. We present this forum solely for voter education. Here's the format we'll be using. Each candidate will have a 1-minute opening statement. We'll follow that with questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. The candidate who answered the question first will have up to 30 seconds of additional rebuttal time if they wish. And then we'll close out the forum with 1-minute closing statements. A timekeeper will alert the candidates when they have 30 seconds of time remaining and when to stop speaking. Before the forum, the candidates drew lots to determine their initial speaking order, which will alternate throughout the forum. And I'll introduce them to you in that order now. They are Amanda Bogner and Kristine Dungan. And we'll start with opening statements, beginning with Amanda Bogner.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event this evening. I'm Amanda Bogner, and I'm running to represent the ratepayers of West Omaha. And in November, you have a very important decision to make. I'm interested in keeping our rates low, but keeping an eye on the future and making sure that our electric generation stays current with generation trends and building our renewable energy portfolio. So consider me Amanda Bogner on November 6th.
Thank you. And now Kristine Dungan.
Okay, first I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to participate in this forum. It's great to have a chance to meet my opponent, Ms. Bogner, and have a discussion about the issues at OPPD. I'm a lifelong Omaha resident. I'm retired from OPPD's finance team. I retired in 2016 after 26 years. I worked on many bond issues. I managed investments, as well as I was the mini bond administrator, so I worked with a lot of our investors. I'm not a politician, but was encouraged to run for the OPPD board because of my business education and my work experience with the district, which will enable me to fairly represent the ratepayers' interests and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Now our first question, which will go to Kristine first. OPPD spent a substantial amount of money repairing the Fort Calhoun nuclear power plant and then voted to close the plant, expending even more funds. Would you have handled the Fort Calhoun problem differently? And do you see nuclear power ever again becoming part of the production mix for OPPD?
I feel that when the plant was closed in 2011, that they probably should not have considered opening it. I think the financials were kind of back and forth. I think it was a good decision to shut the plant down. It was an expensive power source, and I do not believe that there will ever be nuclear power within the OPPD territory again.
Thank you. Amanda.
Well, similar to Kristine, I don't think that there'll be nuclear power again in our portfolio. As far as the decision, it certainly was a difficult decision to make. To weigh the effect of the flooding damage, and then balancing that with the generating enough power to serve our base load. So I think that if I were a board member at that time, would have considered all of those things and may have made the same decision. But it is a very expensive power generation source, and since we are wanting to keep rates low in Omaha, it doesn't make sense to continue that power generation now.
Okay, thank you. Kristine, anything further?
I will say yes, it was a very difficult decision for them to make. There were a lot of people out there that were affected by it, but I think it was the right decision.
Thank you. And this question will begin with Amanda on this one. Is OPPD adequately prepared for climate change? What's the board's responsibility on the issue? And do you think that a climate plan should be passed in the Unicameral to address the issue in Nebraska?
Well, climate change is a tricky subject, so you have people that sit on both sides of the aisle with regard to this one. I think that when we're looking at the things that we as people have control over, making sure that we're generating power in a clean way that's not contributing to additional pollution, those are the types of things that we need to be focused on here. And so as regard to being prepared for climate change, I think that we're moving in the right direction with bringing on renewables and having a goal right now of 50%. I would like to see that to be more advanced. I'd like to see us to have 100% renewable energy at our fingertips. And that will help us, be prepared for the future. As coal prices rise or as natural gas prices rise, we can hedge against those things, in addition to making sure that our environment's protected.
Thank you. Kristine.
The district has moved with the renewable programs. They have exceeded their goal of the 30% or will this year, and they're on track to achieve 50% by 2020. And that in and of itself, I think, is going to help make a difference in the area. As far as whether the Unicameral should pass some type of climate change, I think that's more of a federal issue that should stay with the federal government.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Amanda?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you. Here's our next question. California has set a goal of 100% clean energy production by 2045. Oppd has said it will be at 50% renewable energy by 2020. Is that enough? What do you think is a realistic generation goal for renewable energy in the next 5, 10, and 20 years for Oppd? We'll begin with Kristine.
I think their goal is a fair goal right now. We have to look at a balanced generation portfolio, and right now solar and wind are both intermittent power sources that can't keep up with demand, that the capacity that our fossil fuels can right now. But that's not to say technology is not going to change. The district has to stay on top of that changing technology and be ready to implement it. I'm not sure what those target goal levels should be, because you've got to wait for the technology to catch up, and it's got to be cost effective and efficient as well.
Thank you. Amanda.
The goals in California certainly are driving our country and getting all the utilities to think about what their renewable portfolio should look like. And I think that it's certainly a feather in our cap that our current board has agreed to a goal of 50%. I do think that we need to think for the future and have the availability of the technology to be at 100% on our grid. Now, whether that is 100% renewable all the time, or if we still rely on natural gas during that intermittent load or peak load scenarios, that remains to be seen. That sort of technology, we need certainly battery storage, which that technology is being developed. It's not substantial enough right now to have our whole grid on it, but it is rapidly developing. So that's something that the board will need to keep an eye on as we are improving our renewable portfolio. But the other thing that we can do is we can really encourage our consumers to consume less. Demand response strategies and other conservation type of programs have been very successful in other markets, and I think that we're ripe for that type of thing here.
Thank you. Kristine, any rebuttal?
I do know the district does have demand programs that they're working on with both the residential as well as commercial customers. So that will be a benefit.
Thank you. Here's the next question. Is Oppd doing enough to prepare for accepting power from homes or businesses that have installed power generation equipment such as solar or wind? For example, if a car dealership has installed solar panels, can and should that excess power be loaded to the grid? And we'll begin with Amanda.
Well, whenever we're talking about accepting power generated by a resource that's not in control in the Oppd's control, we have to be very careful with quality and safety. So there are definitely measures that have to be put into place with that. Right now, there's very little that Oppd is doing for accepting that type of power, but as we move into not the community solar program that's being talked about now, but true community solar, where you do have solar panels on a variety of homes or businesses, then we can address those challenges as we're developing those programs.
Thank you. Kristine.
Okay, that Oppd does have specific guidelines that are critical to ensure customer safety as well as Oppd's employee safety for those folks that do have that generation capability. They have a permitting process, approvals and inspections are required, and they also have a specific rate that's available to those qualified consumer generators. And they've also looked at other distributed energy resources. They've done studies and conducted market research, so they know that there are people that are interested in doing that. The industry has high enthusiasm, but right now there's just not that much customer interest here. They just need to stay on top of that and, you know, on top of the potential that that could happen and have the stability or the setup to take that power in, but to understand that they have to have it be safe for the employees.
Thank you. Any rebuttal, Amanda?
I'll just add that as we bring on electric vehicles, having a solar-based charging station will probably help the local market want to adopt solar power on their homes quicker than right now.
Okay, thank you. Here's the next question, beginning with Kristine on this one. What's the one thing you would urge the OPPD board to do differently?
That's a good one. I think that they are doing really good with the transparency with broadcasting their committee meetings as well as the board meetings online. But I do think that there should be more opportunities for people who work to have a chance to sit in on those types of meetings and have a participation or the ability to participate. And I think that they need to rethink how they're doing these board meetings and committee meetings.
Thank you. Amanda?
Well, it goes to employee engagement, but I think that one thing that the OPPD board should do differently is really assess how they're doing employee assessments. You know, so right now they do annual assessments for both the senior management as well as all the employees that are at OPPD, and those assessments are, from my conversations with some employees, are not that effective. They don't drive to helping the employee become a better employee for OPPD, and I would say that that even permeates into senior management and Tim Burke's assessment. So when his salary was up for renewal or for approval earlier this year, the board was given a lot of information during the closed committee meetings, but had to make a pretty quick decision of whether they were going to approve his salary, but without a whole lot of background and support of why he was deserving of that salary. And so I think that really trying to put some metrics to every employee's position so that they understand what those expectations are and how they can become better employees will help more employees there become more engaged.
Thank you. Kristine, any rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Here's the next question, which will go to Amanda first. What is OPPD doing, or what should it do, to ensure that contaminants from coal ash storage in North Omaha and Nebraska City are not leaching into waterways?
Well, when we're looking at the coal ash as well as the exhaust out of any of our combustion stacks, we have to be concerned about water quality, air quality, and soil quality. So there are a lot of EPA regulations, and currently OPPD is in compliance with those regulations. But as we look at the fly ash containment, there are landfills for that, and a couple of them are already at 100% capacity. The other ones are nearing a full mark, and so we have to really think about, as we go forward, not only how we contain those contaminants, but then what are we going to be doing with future fly ash, or if it's not fly ash, I'm sorry, with coal ash, if we continue to burn coal as a generation source.
Thank you. Kristine?
I believe the district is in compliance with all of the energy or EPA guidelines with regard to any kind of waste that's being put out by the coal plants. and that they regularly test the air and the water, et cetera, in the area to make sure that there aren't any issues. And I believe if there were issues, we would know about it, and the company would be responsible for fines, et cetera. So it's a serious thing. They've got staff that handles that.
Thank you. Amanda, any rebuttal? Okay, thanks. Next question goes to Kristine first. Do you support on-bill financing for energy efficiency and weatherization upgrades?
Unbilled?
Putting it on allowing them to put it on their bills to finance such things.
I don't think that's a good idea. OPPD is not a finance company. I think that they should look for other alternatives to do that if they want to have help with that part of their bill.
Okay, Amanda?
Well, that's an interesting strategy. I think that if that is something that the ratepayers are interested in pursuing, that is something that OPPD should consider. I think that there are other ways, though, to encourage ratepayers to weatherize and conserve energy at home. The current program with the Nest thermostats is an excellent example of ratepayer participation. You elect to participate in that program and get an incentive on your bill to do so. But whether they should swim in their lane like Kristine is suggesting and not be basically a loan office, I think that that's fair. But I do think that there should be more programs that support energy efficiency and weatherization.
Kristine, any rebuttal?
I agree with that as well, but incentivizing versus loaning money to customers is two different things.
Okay, thank you. Here's our next question. Do you agree with the OPPD plan to begin selling shares of solar power to residential customers and the board's decision not to subsidize the solar costs? And we'll start with Amanda.
Well, I think that it's one way to get a lot of solar on our system now, and for ratepayers that are interested in that energy source to participate immediately. I do think that that the term solar community or community solar is not being correctly applied here, and it's confusing to the public. But it is one step, and trying one new thing is a good step for the board to do. I do think that in the future, the board needs to really consider bringing on generation and solar power and paying that upfront cost for that equipment. It's either putting money towards that or putting money towards building a new coal or natural gas plant. Eventually, we will need more demand or more capacity to match the increasing demands in our growing community. And solar is one option there. And a recent study from Rocky Mountain Institute indicates that solar is more cost-effective long-term than natural gas and coal, traditional energy generation.
Thank you. Kristine?
Yes, I agree with that. With the decision to go forward with the community solar project as the first step into the solar arena. I think that will give people an idea to maybe try to get involved and learn more about solar power, which would generate more interest, and maybe we get to a point where consumers are more likely to want to install their own solar panels, but it's got to start somewhere. So I think that this is a good start.
Thank you. Amanda, anything further?
No.
Okay. The next question. Should OPPD be promoting the use of electric vehicles? And if yes, how will it support such a promotion? And we'll start with Kristine.
I believe they should support the use of electric vehicles because right now their load growth has been very stable. We haven't seen much load growth, and I think that would give them an opportunity to boost their demand for their power. And also it'd be cleaner air, and there are a lot of people that are interested in that, and I do believe they're offering some incentive programs now for folks that are interested in doing so.
Thank you. Amanda?
Well, there is an electric vehicle incentive right now, but it's only available to ratepayers in the Douglas County area, so it's not OPPD service territory wide. But as we, as electric vehicles come on the market and become more affordable, I think it's an excellent opportunity for OPPD to step into that arena and offer charging stations that work with the grid. But I think that we have to balance that with a responsibility to the environment. So right now with our generation portfolio, if you have a vehicle that gets 55 miles to the gallon, which are most hybrid vehicles, not plug-in vehicles, you have less emissions than what an electric vehicle would have. So basically with an electric vehicle, you're transitioning your emissions from your tailpipe to the generation smokestack. So it's, right now in our area, electric vehicles are not better for the environment. But as we bring on more clean energy resources, those numbers will change.
Thank you. Kristine, any rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Here's the next question, and this will go to Amanda first. What are the top 3 priorities you would have as a new OPPD board member if you're elected?
Well, I've already mentioned a little bit about the employee assessments. I think that there's some really interesting ways to sort of restructure how employee assessments are done. And I think that that could be something that is started with senior management and then distributed through the entire organization. So that's one. 2 would be to really work on demand response programs for commercial users. So right now, the demand response programs are rather limited for our commercial and industrial clients, but I think that that's a really excellent way to help those clients save money on their utility bills. And then 3rd is to really dig into the clean energy portfolio and figure out how can we adopt new technologies and in a cost-effective way over the next 10 to 15 years.
Thank you. Kristine?
Okay, my first priority is just ratepayers' greatest concerns are the affordability and reliability, and OPPD is committed to no general rate increase through 2021, and I feel it's important that they stick to that commitment. The reliability concerns, again, go back to that balanced, efficient generation portfolio, and the technology is not fully there yet to go to 100% renewables, and I think they need to just continue to keep studying that as a possibility. And then the 3rd would be to keep monitoring for the Fort Calhoun station decommissioning. It's going to be a huge, expensive project. They did the right thing by hiring the person they hired to run that project because she has experience doing the same at another utility. But we need to make sure that they stay on track with that whole project.
Thank you. Amanda, anything further?
No.
Okay. And this will be our last question, but just take a minute to answer if that much time. Is OPPD's cybersecurity adequate? Do you think more security is needed for facilities and operations? And we'll start with Kristine.
Well, I know they have a cybersecurity team there that has always been working toward keeping that system secure for our customers' information as well as the grid. I don't know specifics about it, but I hope that they are continually learning the different challenges that come to them, and that they will be able to defeat those challenges and not allow any problems with the cyber issues.
Thank you. Amanda?
Certainly, as non-board members right now, we don't know all the ins and outs of the details related to their cybersecurity plan. But I think that one thing that we probably need to dig into is to understand what cybersecurity insurance, some of the contractors and third-party vendors that OPPD utilizes have in place. Oftentimes when you have a cybersecurity breach, it's through a vendor or some third party that has access to the system. It's not necessarily the major entity.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to our closing statements now, and we'll begin with Amanda Bogner.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening to us today. On November 6th, you have a very important decision to make, and I hope that you vote for Amanda Bogner, me. As a small business owner and a community leader, I understand what it takes to run and operate a business, from employee engagement to all the various costs of running a business, health insurance and other employee types of benefits, and then also just the core business. Electricity is an essential service, and you as a ratepayer absolutely deserve reliable, affordable electricity, and as a board member, I will support those things.
Thank you. And now a closing statement from Kristine Dungan.
I would like to again thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, allowing my opponent and myself an opportunity to present and discuss our thoughts and ideas on a number of issues affecting OPPD and our ratepayers. My business education and my work experience with the district provide me with a solid background that will be useful when representing the ratepayers of Subdistrict Number 1. Please vote for Kristine Dungan on November 6th.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our forum for OPPD Subdivision 1, and the League would like to thank the candidates both for participating in the forum with us. So for the League of Women Voters, I'm Jerry Simon, reminding you to inform yourself about the issues and the candidates, and on Tuesday, November 6th, go vote Omaha.